Half lift, Ardha Uttanasana, is a posture that is really overlooked in our yoga practice. So we're going to examine this posture right now, and let's think about this pose as a pose and not just a move you do. So that is coming up right now. Hello, magnificent human beings. My name is Landon Slaughter. This channel is all about fixing the kinks in your yoga practice by deepening your knowledge so that you can create a truly transformative practice for yourself. And today we are going to look at half lift, that is Ardha Uttanasana. And I mentioned that this needs to be thought of as more of a pose rather than a move that we do. Like chaturanga, that's an actual posture, but it is a move you do, kind of, right? And then, half lift, we just raise into half lift and we come back down into forward fold and we keep going. So if we look at half lift as an actual pose where we hold in the posture and breathe through it, then we can really start to examine some of the details of this posture. So first, let's find ourselves in a half or a forward fold. Find yourself in a forward fold. And if you watch the educational piece on forward fold, you know that I highly, highly encourage you to put a bend in your knees. So just relaxing, and notice how when you put a bend in your knees, back can be nice and flat, and just relax. So your back is probably going to round a little bit in forward fold. People's backs always kind of round somewhat in their forward fold, right? So from forward fold, you want to think about kind of what your pelvis is doing here, right? And you want to hinge up from your pelvis and then hinge back down. So hinging at your hips rather than kind of like lifting, like this whole lifting motion. It's more of a gentle lifting and lengthening. So that's the first part to think about, is kind of isolating this sort of hip joint area and then just hinging up and hinging back down. While you're in your half lift, it's important to think about the lengthening that is happening. You really want to focus on your inhales, lengthening through every vertebra in that spine, and your exhales, bringing your shoulders back down towards your side. So it's inhale, lengthen, exhale, shoulders back. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, shoulders back. And we see folks with their hands here or by your sides or wherever. So the question of where do I put my hands in half lift? The answer is wherever you're comfortable. For some folks, they'll need to have their knees bent quite a bit, and they'll have their hands here at the top of their quads, but they'll have a really awesome form in their half lift because they really keep this perfectly flat low back through everything. And you can isolate this area a lot better when you do this. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, soften shoulders. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, soften shoulders. So that's kind of the best way, is thinking about where can you go. And if you have really bad low back problems, you may want to avoid this posture because it does take a good amount of that low back strength as well to lift up and hold in this pose. The next thing that I want to talk about is your feet placement and how, kind of like what feeling you should have in your hips. So looking at your feet should be together, but then separate your heels a tiny bit. And you can have a very small space between your feet, that's fine. But I'm more interested in that you have a good space in between your heels here than you do your toes, because this gentle inward rotation kind of our legs is what's really going to help us feel this in our inner thighs and way up at the top of our hamstrings. So when you're in that half lift, then if you even exaggerate and really duck pigeon toe your feet in, then you can feel what I'm talking about. And this is gross, but like this is the best way to describe it, is that you're almost kind of flaring your butt cheeks out a little bit. And that's what it is in half lift, is you want to really kind of create a separation between, your left and your right side, and that really kind of opens things up, right? So just really kind of flaring it out. And I know it's funny, and I know it's kind of, gross, right? But it's that's the feeling that you want. It's almost the same feeling that we get in our wide-legged forward fold, that Prasarita Uttanasana, when your feet are really far out. And then if you pigeon toe your feet in just a little bit, and as you come down, you feel this feeling way up here at the top of your hamstrings. And that's kind of the feeling that you're aiming for when you're in your half lift. So those are the tips and tricks. Do not be afraid to put a bend in your knees. Do not be afraid to brace yourself on the top of your thighs here. That's perfectly fine. Protect your low back and do what feels best for you. So thank you guys so much for being here. From my heart to all yours, namaste.